Good evening. My name is Cortina Duck. Today I would like to discuss Chapter 4 with you. I'll be summarizing topics on biosocial and other contemporary perspectives. I'll be covering a majority of topics such as gender differences and criminality, evolutionary theory, hormones and criminality, genetics and heritability and criminal propensity, and finally, the dysfunctional brain. Today, contemporary psychology reflects several major perspectives, such as biological neuroscience, cognitive behavioral, social, developmental, clinical, and individual differences in personality. I'm going to talk about several different perspectives, and hopefully, I've retained them all well enough to give my brief synopsis of them. Okay, so gender differences in criminality, I'd say it would bear the differences between men and women, um, as the perpetrators or the victims of the crime. The statistics have been consistent in showing that men commit more criminal acts than women. Um, Even self reported delinquent acts also are known to be higher for men than women across many different actions. So, studies are consistently shown that higher rates of offending for males than for females, um, and especially higher rates of violent crimes. Gender differences in the developmental of social cognition may help to explain gender differences in crime and violence. One of the reasons I think females have a lower rate of offending is because um, they acquire social cognitive skills earlier in life than males do. And because of this, they have better pro social skills. So I think those superior social skills of a female, they come from or they're influenced by many different factors, including interhemispheric communication, fewer frontal lobe deficits, great verbal ability, and differential socialization by their parents and also by their peers. If I had to give an example of a crime that a female would excel higher than a male, it would have to be prostitution. But don't quote me on that because um, the measures that people go to get money and drugs and things of that nature, um, there's no limit for a male or a female. But I'd have to say, from reading certain things in order to form this report, prostitution is the highest crime rate for a woman than a male. So I think females are less likely than males to become repeat offenders. Um, Long term careers in crime are very rare among women. Some pursue relatively brief careers in prostitution, drug offenses, or minor property crimes. Things like uh, shoplifting or even check forging. Female offenders are more likely than males also to operate solo by themselves. Women do become involved with other offenses in group settings. It's likely In a group setting, it's likely to be a small and relatively non-permanent kind of thing. Furthermore, women in group operations are generally accomplices to the males. And males overwhelmingly they dominate and more organized and highly lucrative crimes, whether based in the underworld or in the upper world. The evolutionary perspective is a theoretical approach that one is seeks to explain the behavior with reference to human evolutionary history, and two, it recognizes the influence that genes have over human traits. So the evolutionary neuroandrogenic theory is a perspective also that one entails the propensity for crime commission evolved among human beings as part of the male reproductive strategy, and two, it it's a particular neurochemistry which is characteristics of males, um, increasing the probability of the criminality among males relative to females. The evolutionary theory is a broad based view that is certain types of sexual behavior are genetic and passed down from one generation to another through the process of evolution, natural sex, and survival. The theory separates into two types to explain violent crime as well as sexual pleasure. If we want to understand why men are more likely to perpetrate crimes than women, why offending peaks during late adolescence and early adulthood, and why crime is related to experience of social and economic disadvantage, then we need to consider the selection um, pressures faced by our species way back in our ancestral environments. Crime rates vary so dramatically. Um, they're so broad from one spectrum to the other. That means that understanding the cultural evolutionary processes that shape norms regarding violence and antisocial behavior is essential for the development of policing that can help us to reduce crime. Hormones and criminality. Let's see, hormonal aspects and the connection between aggression and violence. That relationship has been studied quite intensively over the last few years. Um, Aggressive behavior and the endocrine system have been studied, uh, looking into the interests that occur, presumably because of hormones are naturally occurring secretions, of the body's endocrine or ductless glands, and they're perceived as providing possible reversible therapies for some clinical conditions that include hyperaggressiveness as a symptom. Hormones are transported throughout the body by the blood stream and represents the slow and chronic component of the neuroendocrine coordinating system that regulates the psychological and behavioral activities. Hormones are a chemical substance provided